Good morning. Welcome to Connected Places, Freight Movement and Megaregions. This is a peer exchange on transportation planning and freight movement, and it's convened under the auspices of the Transportation Capacity Building Program, Federal Highway Administration, Federal Transit Administration, US DOT. I'm Catherine Ross. I direct the Center for Quality Growth and Regional Development at Georgia Tech and Deputy Director of our National Transportation Center. I have gone ahead and told you who I am. I'd love to know who all of you are. So with that, we're going to start a microphone and ask everyone to stand up very briefly and just give us your name and affiliation.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Williams. I'm the Senior Vice President for Public Policy here at the Metro Atlanta Chamber. Welcome.
Jane Hayse, the Atlanta Regional Commission, the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Atlanta.
Eric Zimmerman, Director of Transportation Programs for the National Association of Regional Councils.
Toby Carr with the Georgia Department of Transportation. I'm the Director of Planning. Good morning.
Janine Miller, Executive Director of the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority.
I am Frank Southworth, Principal Research Scientist at Georgia Tech.
Fred Bowers, Federal Highway Administration, Washington, D.C.
Jeff Short, American Transportation Research Institute, Senior Research Associate.
I'm Tom Wyatt with the Office of the Mayor, City of Atlanta.
Sam Williams, President of the Metro Atlanta Chamber, and welcome to all of you who are not from Atlanta.
Arthi Rao, Center for Quality Growth and Regional Development, Georgia Tech.
Bill Allen, Transportation Planning Consultant.
David Lee, Research Scientist from Georgia Tech.
Matt Hauser with CBNI.
Jared Lombard with Atlanta Regional Commission.
Rob Bradham with the Chattanooga Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm Vice President of Public Strategies.
I'm Tim Welch, Assistant Director of the Center for Quality Growth and Regional Development at Georgia Tech.
Fred Duca, National Center for Smart Growth, University of Maryland.
Liza Jofrion, Tennessee Department of Transportation.
Good morning. I'm David Jarrett, Chief of R&D for Georgia DOT.
I'm Tom McQueen, the Georgia DOT Office of Planning.
Nick Tennyson, Chief Deputy Secretary, North Carolina Department of Transportation.
I'm Ron Office of Fulton County Chairman John Eaves.
Roberto Canales, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, right?
I'm Sarah Smith, Research Scientist at the Center for Quality Growth at Georgia Tech. Carlos Royal in Miami at MPO, Miami, Florida.
Tamara Christian, Federal Highway Administration, Atlanta, Georgia.
Andy Edwards, Federal Highway, Georgia Division.
Terry Lawler, Executive Director of the Regional Business Coalition of Metropolitan Atlanta, which is all 16 chambers of commerce. And like Sam, welcome to Atlanta.
Audrey Elias, Research Scientist at Georgia Tech.
Haley Peckett, Volpe Center, U.S. Department of Transportation, Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Hibbert. I'm the Director of Planning and Program Development here with FTA in Region 4 in Atlanta.
Good morning, Elisa Arias with SANDAG, the San Diego MPO.
Good morning, I'm Kent Mason with Prologis. We are an owner of industrial facilities throughout the U.S. and globally, so transportation is key to us and our customers. Thanks.
Todd Long with the Georgia Department of Transportation, Deputy Commissioner.
Vidya Mysore, Federal Highway Resource Center, Atlanta.
I'm Ben Williams with Federal Highway Administration's Resource Center out of Atlanta.
Timothy Gibbs, City of Charlotte, North Carolina, Department of Transportation.
Michael Cray, Atlanta Regional Commission.
Angelica Braik, Center for Quality Growth, Georgia Tech.
Bill Lyons, USDOT Volpe Center in Cambridge.
Nisha Bochway, School of City and Regional Planning at Georgia Tech.
Peter Hilton, Center for Quality Growth and Regional Development at Georgia Tech.
I'm Rich Denbo with the Association of MPOs.
Dave Harris, Federal Highway Administration Headquarters.
I'm Daryl Howard with the Regional Planning Commission of Greater Birmingham.
Good morning. I'm Tiffany Julian. I'm with Federal Highway, Washington, D.C., and I'm in the Office of Freight Management and Operations.
Good morning. I'm Abigail Rivera, Community Planner for FTA.
Good morning. I'm Myra Immings, Community Planner with FTA's Regional Office under Ms. Hibbert. I serve the Carolinas.
Good morning again. I'm not Santa Claus. I'm Marshall. I'm Marshall Farmer with the Regional Planning Commission of Greater Birmingham.
Good morning. I'm Ken Stewart with Georgia Tech, and I carry Catherine's briefcase.
I wish.
Good morning. I'm Jason Reiner with Norfolk Southern Railway. I run our Industrial Development Department, and we are a provider of transportation services.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ehsan Mohammadi. I'm Research Assistant at University of Alabama at Birmingham.
Andy Sullivan, Civil Engineering Department, University of Alabama at Birmingham.
Good morning. I'm Mike Orr with the Genuine Parts Company based here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Good morning. I'm Al Outland. I'm with the Georgia Municipal Association.
Good morning. I'm John Orr with the Atlanta Regional Commission, and I manage the Transportation Access and Mobility Division.
Would you introduce yourself? You walked at the right time. Perfect. Perfect timing.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Eichert. I'm the Communications Director for the Nashville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Great.
I'm John Eaves, Chairman of the Fulton County Board of Commissioners.
Thank you. The next day and a half presents a unique opportunity, the first of its kind, to engage in a conversation and information sharing, and I mean that quite literally, from both the public and the private sectors, looking at how we can best focus on economic ties, interdependent infrastructure systems, and how do you best facilitate the efficient movement of freight, flow, and people. This exchange is an excellent example of bringing all resources to bear on a set of challenges we can only address collectively. While the Atlanta Regional Commission has been joined by the Atlanta Chamber, the Department of Transportation Volpe Center, Georgia Institute of Technology, the University Transportation Center, the U.S. Department of Transportation, and particularly the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce, led by Sam Williams, and a special nod to Dave Williams, Senior VP for Public Policy, for their partnership. And more importantly, they've had a long-standing, keen focus on this very important topic, transportation. For that, we thank you. Just a few housekeeping rules before we get into the main body of our program. First, you should all know we are videotaping this austere meeting. So if you want to mind what you say or change what you might have intended to say, I'm just giving you a heads up that that's going to be the case. And of course, if there are any difficulties, we can certainly always edit things out. So don't worry too much about that, but I did want to let you know that that was ongoing. We have invited the media. They are generally really nice people, so not to worry, but we did want you to know that we've extended an invitation, and so we well imagine they will be popping in and out, just FYI for you. We're asking everyone to sort of really stick as much as you can to the time allocations. You've looked at our agenda. It's powerful, it's packed, it's tight, and we need everybody to really contribute to have it come off successfully. We are going to have people who will hold up signs. They will do it discreetly, and we will not interject a hook. We're not going to do this in a way that you'll be embarrassed, but we really do ask for your help in keeping time so that we move the program along with the time slots that we've allocated. And I want to make everyone very comfortable. Someone said not long ago, well, you know, I'm really not an expert on megaregions. We don't have any. This new spatial concept is new to everyone in the room. So this is a conversation and a way to examine its potential capacity to contribute to a highly performing and more efficient transportation system. So a conversation and exchange of ideas. Please feel free to open up and share your thoughts. They are as valuable as anyone in the room. So make us all feel comfortable in that regard. And now what I'd like to do is to shift our attention to a set of very important people and partners who are going to welcome you. And if you will look at your agenda, what I would ask each of them to do is to come forth and welcome you. We're going to have first Jane Hayse, who is the director of the Center for Livable Communities, the Atlanta Regional Commission. She's worn a number of hats and moved into that position, I guess, Jane, fairly recently, right? Toby Carr, Georgia Department of Transportation. Toby's here, a real friend and a real person who focuses on transportation across the board, I might add. John Eaves, the Commissioner, Fulton County Chairman. Dave Williams, Senior VP. Dave spoke. All these people have introduced themselves. Andrew Edwards is here. Yes, will bring us greetings from FHWA Headquarters Division Office. Jennifer Hibbert, I know she stood up. Jennifer, we're looking forward to you bringing your welcome. And then Tom Wyatt, who is Policy Advisor, Office of the Mayor, City of Atlanta. So I will ask Jane to please come forward, and then they'll proceed to bring their welcome in the order in which they're listed on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and good morning, everyone. It's very exciting to be here today. I was just talking to Catherine during the coffee. I'm not sure when it was, maybe June. Catherine called me and said, we need to do a peer exchange on freight with regards to Megaregions. And I went, okay. And so what you have here today is the result of that effort. And I can't express enough thanks to the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. What you see here and what we had to keep reminding ourselves is this is unlike any other peer exchange. I'm sure that the Volpe Center and USDOT have helped sponsor, in that this is a perfect, in my opinion, combination of academic, government, and private sector all coming together on this very important subject. So I think I'm excited, and this is going to set a new bar for peer exchanges, just putting everyone else on notice there. Freight has always been an important piece of the Atlanta Regional Commission's transportation agenda. We completed a freight plan back in 2007. We followed that up with a regional truck study, and I have to give kudos to Michael Cray, who's been our lead on freight planning for many years now and leads our Freight Advisory Task Force, and to John Orr, our new transportation division manager. We believe this is a natural evolution of the work that we've done at the Atlanta Regional Commission and are excited about what we're going to discuss here today. Now, you all have some homework. During the course of today and into tomorrow, jot down any notes, ideas you have of how ideas that come to you, because our final session is going to be next steps, and we need to think about how we're going to work or would like to work as a mega region with regards to this subject. So any ideas you have on how we can move this concept forward will really help us in that final session. So with that, I would like to just turn it over to Toby Carr. Toby?
Thanks, Jane, and good morning. It's good to be with all of you this morning. I appreciate the invitation to be here and to participate with you today. There are, and first of all, thank you to everyone in here who plays an important role in making the transportation network in Georgia, and in my role as Director of Planning at GDOT, the roads, the bridges, our surface transportation facilities that help enhance people and freight mobility throughout the state. Every one of you plays a role in that, and I appreciate it because it is a huge team effort. And I would identify really as our first and most important asset in Georgia's transportation network the people and the partnerships that we have going on right now. The governor speaks often of the degree of partnership we have with the legislature, with the GDOT board, all of the important partners that we have, our metropolitan planning organizations and our local governments, in order to make sure that we're all staying extremely focused on delivering the most strategic projects and the most important improvements we can to really move the needle on improving transportation with the limited resources that we have available. And when it comes to that network, we have incredible assets too that we're working from, right? We've got some of the best conditions for our road network in the country. We've got our ports of Savannah and Brunswick, which give us incredible access to global markets. We've got the world's busiest airport, which give our people access to global markets. And so as we talk about mega regions, and as Dr. Ross pointed out, perhaps in one way it's a way of thinking bigger than we're used to thinking. It's still far smaller than the global market that we all want to have better access to. And what we have here in the state is something to talk highly of. As well as the recent identification by site selection that we're #1 to do business. That's important, and continuing to improve people and mobility, as well as maintaining our role as a global hub for freight and logistics, is key to that. In one great event that occurred that further shows the partnership, further shows that we're going to be able to invest better as we move forward than we even have in the past, is the recent passage of a House bill in this last legislative session called HB 202. And House Bill 202 did something pretty important. Prior to its passage, almost all expenditures at the Georgia Department of Transportation had to be balanced by congressional district, so that the expenditure of dollars mirrored the populations of congressional districts. Dollars in, dollars go out with a degree of equity based on congressional district. However, congressional districts change with each census. And the prime example I give is the I-16, I-75 interchange in Macon just went from Congressional District 8 to Congressional District 2. So if you spend all your time trying to get this one big expenditure to fit in one district and now it shifts to another, it has the potential to set you back. It's well-intentioned, but it created the unintended consequence of big, important, strategic, state, goal-oriented projects had a lot of trouble getting to the point of ultimately being delivered. HB 202 said not only are the interstates no longer a part of that, the interstates are state strategic priorities, so is a designated freight corridor, which we were able to do, adding to it state routes and important roads near the Port of Savannah and throughout the state to complement our interstate network. We have multiple alternatives for north-south movement through the state, multiple alternatives for east-west access throughout the state that are going to continue to help keep Georgia as one of the best states to do business from the perspective of accessing global markets through our ports and our airport and our surface transportation network. So I'm very encouraged by what's happening. Thank you for being here to advance the conversation today. And on behalf of the Governor, thanks for the work you do to make the transportation network better in Georgia.
Good morning. Once again, I'm John Eaves, the Chairman of the Fulton County Board of Commission. I'd like to welcome all of you to this very, very important meeting and dialogue. I have 2 children in school, and every now and then they are, Catherine, late to school, and I discovered that there's something called excused and unexcused absences, excused and unexcused tardiness. Well, I was a little late this morning, but I want you to know, Sam, that it's excused because of traffic. It's certainly good to be here, and your meeting today is very, very important. Several points. It's hard to believe, but I came here 35 years ago as a freshman at Morehouse College, 17 years old, and the Atlanta back then was much, much more different than the Atlanta today. When I graduated, the furthest I can see this region was basically Lenox Mall. Now Atlanta, depending on what definition you use, the inner core of 5 counties has 3.5 million. And there's another concentric circle of about 10 counties that has 4-point-something million. And then there's a 23-county area that's basically 6 million. So we're now, whether we realize it or not, those of us who are within the 285 corridor, we're now part of a region. We're part of a mega region. And I think that politically, we're finally beginning to get it. Even though we're concerned about our own backyards, we now see ourselves as a mega region. So the 3 points that I want to offer to you as you deliberate today or the next day and a half. Number 1 is an international point. Back in September, I was invited down to Rio de Janeiro to be a part of a summit that was a response to some of the social problems that are occurring in Brazil, where people from impoverished communities are up in arms about how they are not benefiting from the infusion of dollars for the infrastructure projects for the World Cup games as well as the Olympics in 2016. And so they had this seminar called Urban Mobility and Social Inclusion. I was invited along with a distinguished transportation specialist from the University of Texas. And our message to them, and they all had an aha moment, was with the planning, which was lacking, the lack of communication, the local folks in their planning for transportation needed to include the public in the planning and the decision-making process. Number two, that all people within society should benefit from whatever plans that are in place, not just the haves, but the have-nots. So those are two things that struck me that I think are relevant to today in terms of our plannings about freight movement. Can all people be a part of the process, number one, and can all people benefit from it? The second point I want to make is one of a domestic point, national point. I was invited to be a part of the National Freight Transportation Network, established by the Department of Transportation in Washington, D.C., instituted by the former Secretary Ray LaHood. Ray LaHood discovered that there is no national policy in terms of freight. So there are about 55 people who are part of this big committee, from freight, from port, from the trucking industry, rail industry, local government, state government, because there's an absence of conversation, there's an absence of any sort of interrelated strategy. And so we need to have that type of strategy on a local level. On the local level, as we deal with transportation, as it relates to freight, two last points I want to make. We on a local level are beginning to talk about social justice or environmental justice. We get complaints from people in our challenged communities about freight coming through, making noises at night, and traffic and big trucks who are going through their neighborhoods at night. So what can we do to try to mitigate this in terms of the argument of people who say we want environmental justice in our communities? And how can we do that along with spurring on economic development where we all can benefit? So on behalf of Fulton County, the largest county in the state of Georgia, thank you for being here. Welcome, and I hope that your day and a half deliberation is successful and some good practices come from your effort. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure. Good morning. My name is Dave Williams. As I mentioned before, it's our pleasure at the Metro Atlanta Chamber to host you today. This is really a core part of our mission, is collaboration and the convening of leaders, not only from our region, but from our state, not only from our state, but from nationally and even globally. So we are thrilled to be the venue and the host venue today, and we hope that if there's anything we can do to make your stay here easier and more comfortable and more convenient, please let us know. Just real briefly, I mean, we are sitting here today in Atlanta. I suppose we could be in any one of a number of U.S. cities. But one of the reasons I think it is appropriate that we're here in Atlanta to be talking about freight is because even going back to the early 19th century, Atlanta has been, its roots are as a freight and as a logistics and supply chain center. The railroads, this was the place where the railroads converged. Not far from here at all. This town was called Terminus for a while. And then we moved past railroads into the, expanded our network to include interstates and roads, and then to the airport. We're going to be hearing from Lewis Miller later today, who's the aviation general manager from Hartsfield. How many of you flew in today? Or not flew in, but flew in, period. How many have ever flown? We need some participation here. All right, so, okay, so, but those of you who drove, thank Toby. If those of you who flew, you can thank Lewis. Those of you who came by ship, you can thank Curtis Fultz, who will be here. He runs our ports. I'm trying to think what other modes. City of Atlanta, Tom, you'll be able to, if you walked, biked, Keith Parker from MARTA, if you rode transit. So any modes, we'll have those people in the room today. But it truly is our pleasure. One of the things that I was particularly excited as we were talking with Jane and Catherine about convening this meeting was the inclusion of the private sector. Our mission at the Metro Atlanta Chamber is to create jobs. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. expansion of existing companies, relocation of companies, the birth of new and emerging companies. And we have two particularly bright individuals, Mike Orr, who you'll be hearing from in just not the next session, but the session after that, from Genuine Parts, runs their supply chain and logistics. I think you really enjoyed that session. And then Michelle Livingstone from the Home Depot, both of whom are on our board. The Home Depot's on our board. Actually, Michelle serves with Chairman Eaves on the National Freight Advisory Committee, and so that's an important part of the work that we'll be talking about today. But again, on behalf of my boss, Sam Williams, on behalf of all of our members, you'll notice that we have our actually, you can't see this one, but we have our cornerstones of what our chamber is about. But it's about enhancing the quality of life. Freight and supply chain and goods movement is a huge part of that. If you don't think so, next time there's an ice storm or a snow event, watch how fast the shelves empty if you don't think supply chain and goods movement is critical to our quality of life and our ability to live here. So anyway, that's my 2 minutes, I guess. It's also, let me just mention one last thing too. There's a number of other business leaders here. I know Rob Bradham is here from the Chattanooga Chamber. We've got, in the last year, I've been to Nashville, Raleigh, Charlotte, Savannah, Columbus, Macon, visiting with our counterparts and figuring out what sort of collaboration we can have. The mega region, the notion of mega regions and how we operate as an economic unit is something that Brookings has talked about. It's an important trend. Kent, I should have shout out to Kent. Prologis industrial real estate, a huge part. I think we have almost 800 million square feet of distribution and industrial space in Atlanta. Those are the fundamentals of freight movement and supply chain, and we're really excited. I can't say enough of that. So, but I will yield my time. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to speaking with you more later today. Please, Catherine mentioned this. Let me reiterate it. Please speak up. Please, we want to hear from you. We want this to be interactive. If you have questions, please ask, because we really want this not just to be a series of lectures, but we want it to be a robust conversation for the next day and a half. All right? Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Andy Edwards with the Federal Highway Georgia Division, and welcome everybody to Atlanta for the visitors that have shown up. And I'd like to echo what everybody really said. It is exciting, and with the passage of MAP 21, our latest transportation bill, continuing that emphasis on freight, some other things that I've heard about evolution. It's really exciting to see familiar faces, and for people that have worked in planning for a long time, the exciting thing is seeing that evolution of planning and bringing and collaborating and bringing different stakeholder groups together to come up with transportation solutions. You know, Toby reminded me about the forward thinking of the state with congressional balancing and enabling us to do freight projects without having to balance that funding and make sure everybody's getting their share, because really freight impacts us all, and it is a regional, mega regions, national thing, and that's really the exciting thing. And then, you know, in a final thought, I do want to echo what Jane brought up. You know, we're going to have a lot of ideas that people are going to come up with, and it does lay the foundation for what we can do together as in the future, and that's what it is about, you know, doing things together and advancing mega regions and freight movements as a concept. But thank you, and welcome to Atlanta.
Morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Hibbert. I'm the Director of Planning here in FTA Region 4 in Atlanta, a couple of blocks up the street. And I'm thankful for Volpe and for the invitation to attend today. I know those of us who are here from FTA, there are a couple of us here, are excited to be part of this peer exchange. As Dave mentioned, Atlanta is a great place for this, considering our roots. And as a couple have talked about before, I appreciate the evolution that's gone on in planning to involve transit in these sorts of activities. At times, I think transit as being seen as a cousin for freight management and for freight movement, and I think we have important connections that can be made with transit, especially when you consider transit rail operations and and railroad operations. Not only that, freight's able to gain good momentum from interstate and arterial operations and management, which also transit is able to participate in heavily as well. And so thanks so much to Volpe for the information and for the invitation to be here, and looking forward to being part of everyone. And I know, Tom, I'm sure will mention a couple of blocks away from here, we're involved with City of Atlanta in a very important project for our region, the Atlanta streetcar, which is going to be our newest streetcar. So for those of us who are out of town and wonder what the massive construction is all about in downtown, then we are going to have, Atlanta's going to be another city that will have an electric streetcar that will be wandering its streets, 2.7-mile route. And we're very proud to be a partner with City of Atlanta and with MARTA in that project, and looking forward to participating. Thanks so much.
Good morning. My name again is Tom Wyatt. On behalf of Mayor Reed, I want to welcome you to Atlanta. It struck me that the best illustration of some of the points that have been made here really are shown in this picture right behind us. Atlanta, in some way, is a city that has no natural reason to exist. We exist because of the railroads. And if you doubt that, come take a look at this picture, and you can see where the railroads came together in downtown and how we have grown out from that 0 milepost since then. It, among other things, creates a variety of very interesting intersections in downtown Atlanta, which represent its own challenge. The reference was made to the newest addition to the Atlanta transportation scene, and I hope you have an opportunity sometime in the next day and a half to just walk across the park and take a look at it. It's the Ferris wheel, which specializes in short trips, admittedly. But if you are at the Ferris wheel, just look right across the street and you will see the westernmost station on our streetcar alignment in place. And if you will be back here next spring, we'd be delighted to offer you some rides on that streetcar. The Mayor Reed, in his, some of you who are not from Atlanta may not know we had an election yesterday, and we had a squeaker in the mayor's race. But in his comments last night, he made a couple of very interesting points, which I think reflect exactly where we are in the city. He emphasized infrastructure. That is the upgrade of our infrastructure, our streets and roads and bridges, sidewalks, bicycle facilities, and I expect that we will see within the next few months a major effort on the part of the City of Atlanta to do some of the things that, frankly, we hoped we might be able to do by way of the Transportation Investment Act a year and a half ago, but we're going to be taking action ourselves shortly. He also emphasized the role of emphasizing Atlanta and Georgia as a logistics hub. He's been very supportive and has had good connections with the governor in support of the improvements to the Port of Savannah. It's something that I fully expect we're going to continue to have as a major priority. We're delighted to have you here in our city. We're looking forward to engaging in the conversation and coming out of this with some stimulating and exciting ideas, not only for this city and this region, but for the whole of the Southeast mega region. So again, on behalf of Mayor Reed, welcome to Atlanta, and we look forward to participating with you. Thank you.